Like this? I got a little...
Effortlessly gorgeous, exactly. Hi guys, welcome back to the Super Sensitive Show. Today we are here with my friend Nicole. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. No pressure.
No pressure or anything.
I'm Nicole. I'm a photographer here in Toronto.
That's perfect.
That's all?
That's literally perfect. When did we meet? We met 2-3 years ago? When was that?
Last time I was pregnant.
Last time.
2021?
2021, yeah. Yep.
You had a beautiful billboard. Or like,
Yeah.
is it a mural? It's like a...
I think it would be a mural.
Yeah.
I would consider it a mural, but Nicole did the lovely photographs for that shoot. How did you get that job?
I just
Or,
shoot
like-
for Cadillac Fairview a lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's
I've been
perfect.
shooting for them for years.
So we met, and Nicole had this amazing, radiant energy to her.
That's nice.
And it was just like...
I felt the same about
you're
you.
so cool.
I was like, you could be my sister.
Oh, we just clicked.
We did.
We just clicked.
And then you made the cutest tote for my child.
Yeah, so...
That we still have in use.
Yeah. Yeah. Remy is your child. Let's
Yeah.
talk about Remy.
Remy is like a little beam of light in this dark time for the world.
Mm-hmm.
She's almost 2, and she's like, yeah, I know. That's how long we met.
2. I was like, is she...
She's a baby. No.
Whoa.
Yeah, and she's just like a little firecracker now. She's got opinions and loves to dance and loves music and loves art. And I love it all.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't had a mother on this podcast yet. This is
the oldest person I know.
No. Yeah, I haven't been able to pick the brain of a mother.
Pick away.
Because I tried to pick the brain of my own mother, and that doesn't always...
I feel like that
pan
generation
out.
is a little more closed off. And now like I'm like the opposite, like too open.
Exactly. But like what's the weirdest thing about having a child? Like
giving like what kind of which way are we
hold
going
on,
here?
hold on.
Because I don't want to alarm anyone.
Let's go.
There's a lot of weird things.
We'll start like mentally, like emotionally. What was that process like for you? Because like personally, when I think of birth, it can be really terrifying.
Oh, it was my biggest fear.
Yeah.
I was like sure I was gonna die in childbirth.
Yeah.
Because you can't really prepare to like push a human out of your body.
Yeah.
Or really grow it for that matter.
Yeah.
I think luckily it lasts for like 10 months. So you kind of have like time to prepare.
Right.
And then you just get so uncomfortable that you're like, I want this thing
ready.
out more than in.
Right.
And I think there's like an element of like, I'm not that special. So why should I assume I'm going to be like the 1 in a million that like can't do it?
Right.
When like people are doing it every
Right.
second of the day on
Right.
Earth in like
Right.
less ideal conditions than Canada.
That's
So then
true.
I kind of was like, it actually is really safe and fine. I'm going to be fine.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it was more. I got a little more hippy-dippy than that. I asked the universe to show me a sign of an owl to let me know that everything was going to be okay. And then, like, I literally started seeing owls to the point that, like, when I went to the hospital in labor, there was like an owl mural, and I took a picture of it, and I was like, "Okay, everything's going to be fine."
Yeah.
So, and it was.
In that time frame, I'm assuming you go through so many different like waves of like excitement and fear and joy and stress at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's like was there one that was like the most prominent emotion that you were dealing with, or like the one that kind of took over more? I know it's hard to like summarize.
I was pregnant during like COVID, all the lockdowns. So I think in general there was like an added anxiety of just like you didn't even really want to be in the hospital for a while there because all of them were just filled with people, and it was like, can my partner come in? Am I going to be giving birth in a hallway amongst like 50 other people? Are the doctors going to be falling asleep because they've all been working like 40 hours a day?
Yeah.
But I do think you do reach a point where you're really excited, but I think mostly you just kind of like surrender. You really have to like let go of control, which was a hard one for me because I like to think like all my life up until then, it's like, if I do this, I'll get this. You know, like if I work hard, I'll get a good grade.
Yeah.
If I like spend a lot of time on my art, I will get better. And then this is kind of like the one thing where it's like, you can't control when or how it'll happen. You can't control how the birth will go. You can't control how the baby will be.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like, honestly, kind of beautiful in like a weird way, because it's like you just like have to learn to surrender, and kind of puts things in perspective a bit more about like, I don't know, I really like don't sweat the small stuff as much as I used to. I used to be kind of like a type A perfectionist. Like I really cared about everything being a certain way. And now I'm like, honestly, there's bigger problems out there. Like, you know, we're all alive, we're all healthy. Like if my child ruins my like brand new like shoes, like whatever. Whereas before I'd be like, oh my gosh, like I just got these, like my world is over.
Right.
Kind of thing.
It definitely, like a perspective shift.
Yeah, so that's been kind of nice. And it is just wild how much you can love like this thing. Yeah. That's like a part that you can't really prepare for, I feel like. Yeah, it's hard to, I mean, obviously it's hard to empathize with that, right? And be like, yeah, that makes sense because I love my dog. Like, no, but I do love my dog too. Like, yes. A lot. And I don't want to be one of those people that's like, it's not the same. It's not the same, but it's just different. It's not. Yeah, it's a different kind. And like the best way I feel like I've tried to describe it is like, do you ever get kind of like there's like certain foods that if my husband ate it, like, and he knows how much I love it, I'd be kind of like, oh, you ate my, like, I'd kind of be like, you ate the last of my favorite snack or whatever. Right. But like with your child, if they eat the last delicious thing or whatever, you're just like, yes. You want them to. Always. Like, you will never be upset. Okay. Even if you, like, worked so hard to do something and you were going to enjoy it and they eat every bite, you're like, yes. Yeah. Like, you don't ever have that kind of, like, annoyance the way you do, like, a partner. Okay. Like, defensiveness or even... Yeah, it's just, like, it's like it really is, like, unconditional. Like, your heart is literally beating in another thing. Yeah. And I still love my dog. Like, we got a king bed when... Remy was born so that Saunders could fit like better in the bed and we wouldn't be too squished. Like, we love our dog. He's so cute. So he looks like a little like burrito or a baked potato. Baked potato. I think I would go for baked. Can we put a picture of Saunders, please? Thank you. Perfect. I love doing that because it's like magically it will appear. Not now, but it will. In post. Editor's note, please. What else did I want? Oh, I wanted to talk to you about, you're kind of like a micro-influencer. Oh. Or would you consider yourself an influencer, period? No. I wouldn't consider. If anything, it would be a micro-influencer. Because your content is amazing. And I think in my like little Gen Z brain, it's like, oh, someone produces a content influencer. Like, it's not my full-time thing by any means. Yes. But I am blessed with a trusting, like, currency. Like, people tend to like trust what I say, and usually because of that they trust when I like say I like something. So naturally, actually a very nice way to put it. Like my friend has a brand called Mary Young, and it's like a locally made inclusive intimates, like lingerie and swimsuits and that kind of thing. And that's how she kind of described it. She was like, you're very trusting. Like, that's the best currency. Because even if you're an influencer, you might have followers, but if they're not trusting what you're suggesting, then... So I think that maybe is what has kind of helped me do little things here and there, which is just fun. Yeah. Tell me about the Adobe Max. Well, that was really fun. So I became an Adobe ambassador last June or so, and they sent me to Adobe Max. Cool. That was my first time ever going. If you don't know what that is, pop it up here. No, I'm just kidding. It's a big conference in LA where it's kind of like an Apple keynote part of it, where they're like announcing stuff and then it's like available right away, basically. Cool. And then there's some sort of like inspiring keynotes where like people make you cry, and then there's little talks, like little workshops, little talks, that kind of thing. And then there's a really earnest part where people come and talk about future technologies that are going to come out, and they're like, I'm not kidding, like some of them were from basically they're like geniuses from China who probably spend all their time on their computer, and now they're talking in front of 10,000 people for the first time ever, sharing like what they've been working on behind the scenes for the last like 5 years. That's not even going to come out for a few years. So that was like adorable because they're just so passionate. So yeah, it was a very cool conference, and I didn't know what to expect because I've never been to that big of a conference. Like I thought it was going to be just like old white dudes kind of like,
here's the new software,
or like I've been using Adobe for 27 years and like you know, things whatever like conference-y
it
folk.
looked very
well, there was a whole mix of people. There was a whole mix of people. Everyone was really friendly, really lovely.
It was like a Comic-Con for your computer. Yeah.
And it was nice to meet the other like ambassadors in real life, and sometimes it's just nice to be me. Like when you're a new parent, you kind of, that's mostly your life, and then, or it's like always part of my life. So when I get to do something where I'm like old Nicole again, like pre-child, I'm like, oh right, I've still got it.
Yeah,
like,
that's so cool. And like,
so that's fun.
What actually is an Adobe ambassador, and how is?
I think there's different ones. It wouldn't be a Toronto show without some sirens, you know?
The best is a streetcar, and it's just like,
I think there's different Adobe relationships, but basically you get like access to their whole like software lineup. Yeah, like I've made some reels, and it's like they actually pay well.
Okay, cool.
In like US dollars and stuff, and they're very clear about like making sure you're transparent about like it's an ad, it's this.
Right.
So they're good for all that kind of thing. And then there's opportunities to like teach internal workshops or like, and like speak at Adobe Max. Like if I ever wanted to, I could propose something for that.
Wow. Cool. Network sort of.
I met them at another conference that I photograph in California. And then, we just kind of like hit it off, and they're like, would you want to be an ambassador? And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah.
That's so fun.
Yeah, good reminder, like if you're ever at any sort of thing where there's like those awkward tables where you go talk to people, like actually go talk to people. Because usually I don't, because I always feel awkward.
Yeah.
Like that's a place where I'm like, oh, do I have to?
Yeah, especially if you're working on something else too.
Yeah, you just never know who you might meet. I've had a couple cool experiences with things like that where like you just get chatting and good energy matches good energy, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's been really fun. And my husband just became an Adobe ambassador now too. So hopefully we're gonna try and like make some videos together.
Lucas is an OCAD grad as well? OCAD?
Oh, did he go? But he went, no, he didn't get into OCAD. Awkward.
Anyway, Lucas is an amazing graphic designer.
He turned out to do just fine. But why am I forgetting where he went?
I don't know. I didn't get into Sheridan for illustration, and I was like shattered. I was like,
it is really hard not getting into things. I sometimes just like didn't want to apply because I didn't want the rejection.
So afraid. And it's tough with the university when you like would apply. We spent like $100.
Yes.
And like apply to 4 or 5 of them.
And creative programs, they ask for creative things. Like if you're just applying academically, it's like you just send your transcripts. And like they just go through it, and there's not really like essays and portfolios and like I was from Alberta. Do you think we had any element of creativity in school? No. Like it wasn't like I went to an arts high school and had like all this work I've been doing and developing film in the film lab at my school. No, we didn't have anything like that. So I mean, and then I come to school here and half my class has like parents in the industry and you know, because it's Toronto. But no, he didn't get into OCAD.
Wow.
So
okay, well, and he turned out just fine. I mean,
there is hope for you if you don't get in.
If you don't get into,
he is very talented, though. I will agree there.
Don't remember ever being under as much stress as I was like trying to get into universities, and like you look back and it's like it's great that I got in. I'm sure I can.
But you would have survived without it, yes. Or like a different one, or
anywhere you go. But there's that like expectation, right? Of
especially that age, where it feels like your whole life is based on this one letter that you're gonna get.
Yeah, and I'm like at the next point of that now, because it's like that 4 years is done, and now for the first time ever, I'm really on my own.
Right. You don't have that like kind of crutch of like, I'm a student.
Being like, I'm in school. It's whatever, you know, I'm still, that's the
your
one
identity
thing I'm
was very
on.
like wrapped in OCAD.
And I like to think I was good at being realistic about like, oh, it's school and it's going to be done soon and whatever, but it's very different when as soon as you're out, because I was talked about this in the last episode, the fact that everybody's asking me, including my parents, and all out of goodwill, like, right, what's the job plan? Like, what's the next step?
Sometimes
like,
my mom still asks me that.
And it's like,
I've been freelancing for like 15 years or something, doing just fine. But it's like, all right.
When are you going to get a real job?
Yeah, she's like, what if you ever want to apply for a job? Like, you're not going to have any experience on your LinkedIn and resume. And I'm like, Mom, a freelancer, like, it's still experience. Yeah, it's just not, like, it's hard for people to get out of that traditional job kind of mindset. Absolutely. And I don't blame them, but I know what you mean.
Not at all. My dad has been freelancing for, I want to say, at least like 15 years. Like, he's also been out in the industry, and I'm really lucky that he has that industry experience. But it's all like, no matter the support system you have and whether they're pushing you in a certain way, it's still terrifying.
Oh yeah.
And it's still like, I'm again at a point where I need to I'm at a turning point, right? Where it's like, it could go so many different ways, and there's not that shelter of like, oh, I just need to choose my courses, and then like it's
and
really
even like that first year you're out, you're like, oh, this is just like the buffer year. Like, I don't have to have it all figured out yet. Like, I just graduated, and then suddenly that year becomes like 2 years, 3 years, and you're like, and not that I think you'll have anything to worry about, but it's true, like, time does go by. So what would be your dream? Like,
I mean, I'm working on a couple like side freelance things, and I'm happy doing that, but I'm finding that like I have that motivation, but it's just the structure that's sort of missing that I didn't have before. And I'm not like, I'm a self-disciplined person and I can do things, but I really need
the routine, almost
the routine of even just a deadline, right? Like, when you're freelancing, the deadlines are very much like, oh, if you can get it to us now, that'd be great, or in a couple months. Like, they're very workable. And it's almost better to just have that, like, okay, Friday 9 a.m. is going to be my weekly deadline thing.
Right.
And I think the biggest learning experience is, like, figuring out how to set that for yourself. Because I'll just tell myself, like, well, it's just me. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm not worried about disappointing me. It's like, maybe I should be, Right. So I don't know if you have any, like, suggestions for that, like, when you're looking for work and when you're in like a lull where you don't have any projects going on, like, how do you keep that confidence going?
I mean, I've really had to trust that something will come along, which is like, Lucas has trouble with that. Yeah. He wouldn't be a very good freelancer because of that. And I don't think I was as chill at the start. It was very much like, what's next? What's going to be my next thing? Or like, sometimes I used to even pick up like a part-time job. Oh yeah. Not even for like it was nice to make a little bit of extra money, but sometimes it was just to like meet people and like have like, okay, 2 days a week I get out of the house and interact with adults, because it can be isolating. I mean, you've got cool stuff like this, so it might be different for you.
But I just did that. I just got an art store job because it was exactly that. It was like, one, I don't have a super steady source of income, so I'll do that. But also, I'm just going to sit at home and rot. Right? Or like, it'll give me...
And in the winter with the seasonal depression and the dark, gloomy days, like, it's sometimes just
I call it the winter crust, because I get crusty.
Yeah.
I don't want to shower. I don't want to like see people.
Yeah, sometimes I'm like, I haven't washed my face in a few days. I know something's up, because normally I like to like, do a good face routine.
Yeah. And it sucks to feel that the mood just kind of like go like,
And I think there shouldn't be anything ashamed with getting a part-time job. I know I never have judged anyone else when they have, but sometimes I used to judge myself. I'm like, oh, did I fail? I had to pick up a part-time job. And really, like, sometimes it led to cool things. Like, I worked at Lululemon for a few years, and then I got opportunities to do photography for them through it. It started out really like small, like I would photograph stuff for the store at their like local Facebook level, but then they saw like, oh, she's actually pretty good, and they gave me, I started photographing like the ambassadors, so you'd see the pictures on the walls, and then I ended up shooting some stuff for like more of like their bigger like national social campaigns and stuff like that. And then I worked at like Warby Parker and kind of even a few of the graphic designers. There were a few people that just worked in the store, but they would start like proposing different ideas to do graphic design, and one of them I think even ended up getting a job doing graphic design for Warby Parker. So
it's important.
First I worked at Apple, and I found like I just felt like overwhelmed by how many other creatives were trying to do creative things while working retail, and I actually preferred to work at like a totally unrelated thing like Lululemon, where it was like, oh, she's the cool creative one, as opposed to like everyone here's a musician, graphic designer, photographer, one of the three. Kind of thing. And so
that's really
there's no like shame in that. Like,
because sometimes people will tell you go to the jobs that are in your field and go up from there, but you really don't know where something's going to come along.
Totally.
And I was the same at my I worked at a dispensary a year and a half ago, and it was like the same thing. It was like they needed, everybody needs creativity in some way, shape, or form, and whether
dispensaries were new.
Yeah.
So they didn't have a lot of regulation in terms of like the dispensary rules.
Yeah.
But they didn't all have like corporate structures, so maybe you had opportunity to like, oh, I can design a poster for this event we're doing, or
you really don't know where it's going to come from. So I think I don't think there's ever a bad side to getting any sort of job. Totally. Right? Like there's always going to be someone that you meet or even if it's just paying bills and stuff like that.
Even if it's just getting out of the winter crust.
Yeah.
And just trying to like, well, I guess I have to wash my hair today because I have to see
out
people.
Of my shell. Yeah. It's true.
I mean, I really wanted to know what you were, you still didn't really say what you're like, what would be like the perfect.
Oh, the dream job. Okay.
Or like, not like job, but like, I always think the best thing is like, how would you want to feel? Like,
I think I would want to feel the way...
And like what you want to do, but...
Yeah, I think I always feel the best when I'm in the studio.
Okay.
So even if it's not like a job, having a space that is designated away from my house, designated to creating something that is no expectation, simply my own.
Right.
And I think that came with getting more into painting and... I don't like saying abstract, but less representational, like just more mood-based and more of a like personal practice.
Like intuitive kind of.
Yeah, because like I have the illustration and I have that corporate side of it and the side of it where I can still be playful and still be myself and do things for other people, but my painting is like fully my own.
Right.
So even if it's like I have a couple projects going on, I think I would always want to have a space like that, even if it's like my basement, right? Like just like a different separate area where I can go and just like feel the confidence, because that's another part of it, is showing up in a space where you're surrounded by your work is a big part of it for me, and not in a way that is like, oh, well, I did all this, where it's like, no, this is a place where I'm safe to mess around and experiment and things like that.
And that's sometimes the part you lose when you're like a creative who's working in your creative.
Yeah.
Like you're so busy with client work or projects that you forget to like, pick up the paintbrush and like make a mistake.
Yeah.
And like try something different or get messy or
it's just
experiment.
It's fun, and it also just reminds you why you're doing stuff similar to your painting in real life. And well, I say real life, but in the money world, right? And I know that those two can coincide eventually, but I think it's nice to have the multiple areas of your interests and careers, because my most like damaging self-thought was that everything had to work together. And like everything I was doing with Super Sensitive had to work with my corporate illustration, had to work with my painting, had to work with the business.
You had to like find your style, and it all had to go together.
And it's like, that's not even a great like business plan, right? Like it's nice to have a couple different things that you're doing and a couple different sources of income, but also so you don't get sick of your own practice.
Totally.
Or it doesn't become something that has been transformed into something that has to make money.
Yes.
Right.
Because sometimes you lose the joy a little bit when you are doing something for money only. And I think social media sometimes kind of like misleads us, because I have one of my friends, he's like a mural artist here, and he, like, I used to think that was like all he did, because that's all he would post on his social media, and I'd go shoot him at these murals, and he's painting these big walls and doing all these cool things around the world. And then, like, as we became more friends, he's like also has a whole other side where he's like building brands and has clients where he's making logos for like a pizza joint. And it might be kind of like they hire him for a reason because of his typography, like murals, or his murals are very like type heavy.
But it's different.
But it's still totally different. He just doesn't really share it because that's what he does kind of to make money. But he wants to hit people on Instagram to find him to do more murals. And now he has some work that he even like sells at a gallery that again does look similar, but it's not, they're kind of, like different streams for sure.
And you're so right when it comes to the socials and being so, not even afraid, like controlling of what you want other people to see. And I think that's great, right? That you're selecting, but you need to remember that that's what people are doing. Right? And that the guy on Instagram who's you're really admiring as an illustrator, like that might not be his only thing.
Totally.
Right? And it's okay to pick and choose what you want to show. Like I've been posting a lot more paintings, but I can still post my design work, but necessarily I don't really have to.
Right.
Again, like it's that like idea that you owe a certain image to other people and to yourself, when it's like we're all really just sharing images. You know, like we're kind of just running in circles.
No matter how much you think you're not curated, we're all curating everywhere you go.
Exactly.
And everything you share, how you come across, it's like it's still only a part of all of us. But I do have to say I'm very impressed with how quickly you started doing like client corporate stuff. Like
I feel like took off from that project.
But that's amazing, because a lot of people I went to school with, being in the arts, there's kind of this mindset of like, well, we have to like make art and we have to sell our art. And I think I was a bit of more of an earlier adopter to kind of like switching to like selling out, as some people call it. But some people it takes I don't think a lot of, at least in my university experience, we kind of only learned how to work on like film sets, but we didn't really learn how to like run our own business, which is what everyone pretty much is going to have to do. Because even if you're a freelancer working in the film industry, you don't have an agent or something, like you're a PA or you're a first AC or whatever. You're like, we didn't really learn about how to pitch a brand. I almost learned some of that stuff going to like conferences or asking people
That's not something that, like, luckily there are schools like OCAD that do have those business classes, and they do remind you like, hey, nobody else is going to do this for you, so please.
And it's okay to go work for Cadillac Fairview. Like it's an awesome opportunity. It's not like you got to stick it to the man and just sell your paintings or whatever.
It really does become like a mix. And like, if I'm being completely honest with you, like as much excitement and joy that experience brought me, and like pride over, oh, I'm only in my third year and I'm doing this, the fear of not doing something that is gonna match up to that was so
you felt like you
scary.
Hit your peak almost.
That's just it. And it's like, I don't like talking about that because it's like, oh, you have that up there, like that's never gonna be taken away from you. But it's like
when someone goes viral or something, they're like, was that my moment?
Well, that's just it. Yeah. So like a lot of these, like the past year or two has just been not coming down from that, because it's still up and it's still very much a great thing, but like learning that that's cool, but I can do other things that are also feel just as big to me.
Yeah, I've never once thought that about you. No? Like all the other things I've seen you do, I'm like, oh, you're just a cool person. I'm not like, I've never seen anything since that. Wow. Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, like you have super sensitive, you have like merch, you're having like, you're recording stuff in like a studio, you're at the 401 Richmond building. I'm like, this person just never stops doing like cool stuff. So I've never thought like one was better than the other.
Yeah.
If it's any consolation as the old person outsider. Take note from the oldest person in the room. They always know. I'm a mother, you must listen to me.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
No, but I appreciate that, and it's not until I verbalize that I can hear that sort of feedback. And,
right.
And that's
I get that. We all have things that we're like, oh, that was my that'll never happen again. Or like, I went on like the Birds Papaya podcast once and talking about my divorce. And it was like she has like famous people on her podcast, and it was in her like top 3 or 4 episodes of the year, like most downloaded ever. And then she had me back on her podcast this year talking about like friendship breakups. And I felt the exact same way. I was like, it's not going to be as good. What if no one listens to it? And she announced me as like this is one of our most listened to guests of all time. She's back. And I was like, oh, please, not that intro. Like, way to like set the pressure, you know?
Yeah,
but like, I think people often have those moments where it's like, oh, it's never going to be as... I'm never gonna have that again, but you will, and it won't be the exact same.
Yeah, it
but
comes in different ways, and
but everyone views success as something different. Like someone might have thought that was the coolest thing you'll ever do, but someone might think this is the coolest thing you're ever doing, and someone else might think the fact that you can sell shirts is the coolest thing you've ever done, and someone else. So it's like it's all relative.
And also, like, who cares what people think?
Yeah,
that's like at the end of the day, it's like that's what it comes to for me, and it's like
totally.
If I'm feeling good about what I'm doing right now, there's nothing telling me that I need to go and do that again or find a way to do exactly that again to make everybody else think it's cool.
You can't recreate anything in life.
Exactly,
anyway.
and I'm happy about that. I think that's cool.
And you're young for thinking that. I feel like I didn't learn that I should not care what people think until I was in my deeper into my 30s.
I very much care what people. You know
it
what I
gets
mean?
better though. It really does.
Preaching.
People used to be like, just wait in your 30s, and I was like, yeah, right. All I do is overthink about everything, and I care about what everyone thinks.
Yeah.
And now I'm like,
You care about what Remy thinks now?
Care about what Remy thinks. That's true. If I were to make a choice that she wouldn't be proud of, I probably wouldn't make that choice.
Yeah.
I mean, I still care what certain people think. I'm not like out here living my life, but I don't care as much what like a stranger on the internet would think or things that used to kind of bother me. Yeah.
Well, I don't know how long it's been, but this has been a great.
I'm like, did I even talk about anything, or did I just kind of talk around things?
Oh, I've always said this. Like, I come on this camera and I just like kind of black out. Like, I finish recording and then I don't really remember what we talk about, but we have video evidence that we did have this conversation.
We did talk about something for a certain amount of time.
We can't be gaslit. Thank you so much for coming on my show.
Thank you for having me.
And you keep doing you.
And you keep doing you.
And good luck.
And I'll just always be rooting for you.
It's so exciting.
Next time I see you all, this hopefully won't be in there. Oh yeah, Remy would love to see you. She loves to dance and loves music. And she's like a little ham.
Should I tell her to bring Remy? And I was like, that's probably a lot of work for her, but next time.
We would have even blacked out even more because we wouldn't have talked about anything. We would have just watched a child run around. Yeah. We'll just put a hologram of her here.
Exactly. Well, everybody keeps telling me to bring my dog on the show, so.
You should.
Thank you for watching.
Can we bring the dogs out right now?
Can we bring the dogs?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
We will see you next week on the Super Sensitive Show. Goodbye.
Bye.